All right, guys, I saw your comments, okay? I know you're curious as to why or what changed. Why did I get a dually when I was saying a single rear wheel truck is the best, okay? That's what we're gonna answer in today's video. Okay, so we're not in 2018 anymore. We're in 2019, okay? Now, 2018 was a strange but really good year. Like, the loads were paying really well. And sometimes you didn't even have to have partials. That's how good the loads were in 2018. And what that means now is now you have to have a partial. Now, basically every single load I've hauled, I think was a partial, honestly. And so very few dedicated, good paying loads out there that are worthwhile. So in an older video, I talk about how to load a truck properly. Usually what you want to do is you want to grab your first partial, put it all the way up at the front, and then that gives you enough room to get your next load or your next partial. And the formula I use to help you determine of where to put that first load was for every 1,000 pounds of weight, you step back 1 foot. And so the example I gave, if you have a 3,000 pound partial, you step back 3 feet, and that'll put your rear axle at your max weight. And a lot of times you guys ask, well, what's the max weight on your rear axle of the 3500 that I had? And it's 7,000 pounds. But this creates a problem because now the room, those 3 feet, that's dead weight. That problem is even worse, or it's even more pronounced when your load is really short but kind of heavy. So for example, this load is only 5 or 6 feet long, but it weighs like 5,500 pounds. And basically what you have to do is put that load smack dab in the middle of your trailer. And that limits you very heavily on what your next load can be, because loads usually aren't split up. They're usually not divisible. And that means how much deck space you have, that's how long your load is. So what I meant to say is, that's how long your next load can be. And so by sliding it all the way up to the front, that allows you to take longer, lighter things. And brokers nowadays are paying for space and not for weight. Okay, continue. So the first problem that the dually solves is I can now put those kinds of loads right on up to the dually and not be overweight on my rear axle. And that's really, really good, because now that'll leave me more room on my trailer. With the single rear wheel truck, I never had that luxury. So I could never use my 40 foot to its full potential, because a 4,000 pound partial put all the way up at the front would overweigh me too much. And so a 4,000 pound partial, let's say that's 5 feet long, would take up in reality 12 feet because I had to step back so much. And so that's the first problem that the dually solves. The second reason for the dually is I think Enterprise gets them more often. So I think there's more of those trucks that will be readily available when it's time to trade it in. And so try to fast forward in 60,000 miles, I'm gonna need another truck, right? Because I'm gonna keep leasing. I like the lease so much, but that's a separate video. So I'm gonna keep leasing, and for me to keep leasing, I need a truck that I know they'll have for sure. Now, granted, usually you tell them in advance if you're gonna continue leasing or not, but still, I want it to be as easy as possible for them, because they're gonna keep ordering dualies regardless. And so by getting the equipment that they'll have more often, I set myself up for not having any downtime during the trade-in process. And so that's the second reason. The third reason is stability. Guys, the single rear wheel trucks are kind of squirmy when you load them up to the 7,000 and sometimes even a little bit extra. When you load them up that much, they're a little squirmy. They don't feel as stable. They don't feel as good. And so that's why with a dually, it's much more stable. And I've known that. So I was never in a place to get a dually, so that's why it can only happen now. But I've basically, by driving my single rear wheel truck enough, I've realized that a dually is basically necessary. The fourth reason, now this might not be your reason, but this is certainly could be somebody else's. With a dually, you can start hotshotting non-CDL and eventually study and get your CDL and use the same dually, so you no longer have to get upgrade. Now, that's if you're buying a truck. If you're leasing, you could lease a single rear wheel, and after 60,000 miles, trade it in and get a dually. So that reason doesn't work so well because it's a lease. But if people are buying a truck, I do think they should be getting dualies. And I know that's kind of in contradiction of a prior video I did, and I actually did delete that video. And at that time, my concern was, what's the lightest you could be, right? But now I've realized that it's no longer lightweight that you need to focus on, it's doing it safely. And I think a two-wheel drive dually will do it the safest possible way, regardless of CDL or non. So please, if you're watching this video and you're thinking about hotshotting, please, please, please make sure you're getting a dually and just downrating your trailer a little more. The fifth and final reason is it basically ties in with those other two, and that's the single wheel trucks aren't rated for the weight that I was putting there. Okay, now let me explain. The max gross combination weight rating of a single rear wheel Ram 3500, regardless of year, with the Aisin transmission is 25,300. That's the max gross combination weight rating. Now, I know for the most part, DOT doesn't care, and they don't bother looking at what the manufacturer says the max GCWR can be. But this is important if you're looking this stuff up, if you're trying to be as compliant as possible. Eventually, they're gonna start picking on hotshots for every single tiny little thing. Because we're all now on ELD and there's less violations to write up, they're getting more and more nitpicky. And because of this reason, I wanted a dually, because the dually gross combination weight rating is, okay, with my gear ratio and the package that I got, is 27,300. I already had my truck when I found out that the single rear wheel trucks are rated for 25.3, so I really couldn't do anything about it then. But the point is always to be as compliant as possible, give them the least amount of reasons to give you a violation or tickets or anything like that. And so this is another reason why I wanted to get a dually. But keep in mind, you guys, here's how that would work, by the way. So you paid your taxes, your weight taxes, for 26,000. So unless you weigh between 25,300 and 26,000, you won't have any problems. The only thing that the DOT could give you now is, oh, you paid too much taxes. So in the current state, as my truck and trailer were sitting, that's the only thing they could tell me. You paid too much taxes, which we know the DOT won't do that. But that's if I weigh under 25.3. But if I weigh over 25.3, but under 26,000, they could technically say, you are technically overweight based off of what the manufacturer is saying. Now, have I ever ran into that? No. Has anyone ever ran into that? Probably not. But I'm just saying, for future reference, the DOT could start getting more and more picky, and that's why that's basically another reason I went with the dually. And one last final reason is that I only gained 340 pounds, I believe it was. So the difference in weight between this truck and my old truck was only 340 pounds. So I really didn't have to sacrifice that much weight. And I mentioned that in the vlog, by the way. So I got scale tickets and everything. I will also, when I'm empty, I will get an empty scale ticket. But basically the point is, I don't sacrifice much weight, but I get all of these benefits. Okay, back to it. And then the last reason on top of all those other ones is just to switch up the content. You know what I mean? I got kind of tired of the single rear wheel truck, and so it's, you know, now part of the dually gang, you know, hashtag dually life or something. I don't know, you guys. But anyways, you guys, that's gonna do it for this video. Let me know in the comments below, what do you think about all my reasons? Are they good enough? Do they make sense? And then I'll just see you guys in the next video. Peace.
Wish I could get through to you, don't know what to do to you. Anything I say will come off as wrong, and you're not alone. Something feels out of place, but you have no tell. It's like we want the